Hello, I'm here to do the evolution of a booktuber tag. I mean, I could be doing other things, but the light, I'm a recovering booktuber. We meet weekly in a group. It's called a live stream, and no one's recovering, but our viewing figures are excellent. That's a little joke. Anyway, this tag is by Spread Book Joy, and it's a great idea. Her own video is spectacular. It has got fantastic B-roll footage and it's just a joy to watch. Totally recommend it. Because the prompts are Extinction, Adaptation and Evolution. And those words are very scientific and I'm not. They're slightly cool. And the order puzzled me because if you start with Extinction, where do you go from there? So, and it all sounded like later titles in a franchise. So, you might have Booktube, Booktube 2, Son of Booktube, Booktube 3, Extinction, Booktube 4, Adaptations Assemble, Booktube 5, Evolution. The order just didn't make sense to me and I didn't warm to those scientific words. So I've renamed them, reordered them a bit. And I hope it'll still make sense and I won't get totally lost. I have got notes. There are notes. But they're written in my handwriting. So we are still waiting for the interpreter to arrive and read them for me. But let's see, what have I got here to say that I want to remember? Yeah. So basically I want to start off with how Booktube has changed me. What I've learned. And so I've subtitled this Evolution of a Booktuber tag, the Ecstasy and the Agonies. And if you're a booktuber, you will know why. Anyway, the changes, the things that are become clear to me are how big my world has become. When I hear world news, I kind of think of certain booktubers and think, oh, how's that going to affect them? And I wonder if we heard right now that there was going to be a tornado in Boston, what would our first thought be? And will it be hitting the Brattle and will Steve survive? Just there's suddenly a name to an area, to a landmass, to a place. There's a person I feel I know, even though we haven't met in real life, most. So instead of talking about all this as being, I think it's possibly adaptation, is it meant to be? What's the phrase for it? No. Evolution, how Booktube has changed you. Well, I refer to it as the change. So the change for me has been that I suddenly have this built-in light meter. Like I said at the start, you suddenly go, wait a minute, there's daylight, it's been raining for days, it's been really cold and bleak, and I've had to record with those little round lights which are useless when you've got glasses because they reflect. And then suddenly you think, oh, wait a minute, I have got light. Now's the day to record. Secondly, I've changed. I have developed more on the ability to talk on a microphone. Still always make mistakes. Will make mistakes of things. In the past, that was a huge problem. I had to correct them all. I had to go and do a subtitle underneath saying, actually no, Heather, the word you're looking for is this. And if you go back to my early videos, you'll find those there. Or, oh no, I've got to set up, come back and record again to say this word or this phrase exactly right. And as you go on, you realise that normal speech anyway is full of stops and starts and half-finished sentences, and there's usually enough to make it clear. And if not, stick in a little title at the editing point or make a wee note in the description of the video. By the way, this book is actually called, the title of the book or whatever. So I think that's useful to know, by the way, for those who are newer. the change for me is to realise that conversations are inefficient. As I've been saying, there are pauses, there are starts, there are stops. And television works, and television presenters, which we are not, have a script. And yes, they're perfect. They're word perfect. They say everything really clearly. The starts of programmes are something like this art exhibition. See, I've already made a mistake. This art exhibition is running in the Boston area from Monday to Friday and will be open these hours. The main painter is, and this is marking the 10th anniversary of their whatever. Let's go along with the film crew to find out more. And you've introduced everything in about 2 or 3 sentences. Whereas when you're speaking to camera, you find yourself 4 minutes, 5 minutes more into the video and you haven't actually said exactly and precisely what it is you're going to talk about or visit or show, demonstrate. But it's much more like a conversation. It's more interesting. And along the way you come across little phrases that you say that are memorable or colourful. And I love those in videos when people are talking. I just think they're fantastic. They're what makes it more than a machine, more than hearing that. It's a real mind and thought behind everything and feelings. And an encouragement to those of you who are starting now. I'm really mixing up the content. This is meant to be a separate part of the prompts. But at the start, you will feel like a gibbering idiot. You'll feel like you're editing out all your mistakes all the way, that you can't speak, that you sometimes look at the camera and go blank, all sorts of things. It's a nightmare. And at first, you start to think you can have a career as a filibuster, which is somebody who goes into Parliament and stands up, makes a very, very, very long speech to make a point and hold up everybody else getting on with their business until somebody actually does what you want to happen in your your career as a MP or senator or whatever you have. The change, and again, this is for the new people, so this is all mixed together really. If you're watching, you're going to spend hours watching other people as part of being a booktuber. Hours. There was once a tag called the Honest Booktuber, in which almost everybody admitted to playing people at speed, a little bit higher speed, so that you were able to watch their videos and not have to take hours. So yeah, that works. The only thing is, if somebody puts background music on, it speeds up. So the voice can speed up and you can still hear it, but the music's going to be all utterly frantic in the background and horrible. So try to avoid putting on background music if you're talking, I think. The other part of the change of becoming a booktuber is that your home is now the set. I'm looking around my living room. I'm recording in my living room. This is probably about the millionth place I've tried to record in this place I'm living in at the moment, and it just seems to be full of dark corners, and the books in the bookshelves are in corners. So the ideal thing of having bookshelves behind me is often not there. So it's so difficult to get somewhere where there isn't so much sound and there's good light, you're not going to be interrupted, and the furniture is exactly right. I have come to the point of thinking that I really don't have the right furniture. I'm in a chair that if I move, it's going to squeak or creak. And you need to have a certain amount of back support and everything else. I truly think there is a point at which you probably would be worthwhile getting a good chair and the right shelves to be impressive as a booktuber if you're going to go into it in a big way. But certainly you now look at your place you live in and you think, oh gosh, those curtains, or that mess, or oh, I must tidy this, or there just always seems to be something in the background or threatening to be in the background that actually you don't want to be there, it doesn't reflect you or your taste, or it's just there because that's the best place for it. Anyway, you see, I'm yammering on. And I actually am working from my notes still, and I'm still managing to take a long time to say not very much. Okay, the other change is that the people you share a home with, the dearly beloveds, the flat sharers, the pets, all become noises off, and you have to apologise for them, or you just get to the point of being like me and you don't actually just say anything. You just think, if you're watching this, you know what it's like to have at some time in your life shared living spaces with people, and a closing door is a closing door. It's background. The microphone hears things so differently. So while you're recording, it just sounds like a faint noise in the background. Then you go to listen back to it and you discover that it's this thunderous racket. So it's all different when it's on the small screen. Now, I want to talk about the struggles, the agonies. You get tagged in tags you don't want to do, or you know nothing about it, or you positively dislike it. And some people have tagitis. They tag 10 people for every time they load a video. I'm naming no names, but you know who you are. Yes, Jerry at I know who I am, do you? Yasmin at never done tagging. Kevin at this will fascinate you. Trip Trap at bridge to Billy Goat's gruff. Scaramouche at shall we do the fandango. And Jane at it is a truth universally acknowledged. Now, adaptations, things I thought I'd never do. Yeah, I never thought I'd meet up with booktubers in real life, and I didn't think I'd be interviewed online. Both of these happened due to Margaret Pinard, who is a tour de force, and she's wonderful. So she had me on as an interview, and she came across to right across the Atlantic to do some research because she's writing a book in Scotland, and we ended up having a little gathering of 3 people, 3 other booktubers and myself, 4 of us in Glasgow, which was lovely. And Margaret interviewed me, and I came by link to do one of her creative evenings and give some writing prompts to people. So that was fun. Sean Bree's books. Sorry, just banged the microphone. I better say it again. Sean Bree's books interviewed me as well, which was wonderful. We discovered the time difference between Canada and the UK. But he introduced me as a Booktube luminary, which he does for all his guests. And obviously I protested because I have got a small size channel with not many viewers. But that's how he likes to introduce his guests. And he's very chivalrous about that. So that was a lovely, lovely talk. Also, what I would not have expected to do before is I have been, now I am a co-host of a readathon, which is framed in September. And it's just fun because I looked upon myself as being someone who is really interested in subjects which don't interest most of Booktube. I am very interested in non-fiction more than fiction, and also I love art books, and I love books in humour, and I like books on spirituality, and I love poetry. And all of those are not known for being wildly, hugely popular on Booktube. And there I was flying the flag for all of them. So, and thank you to everybody who does a Poetry Thursday reading. I'm just going to take a little tiny sip, excuse me. So, what was I saying? Yes, I do all these unusual things. So I actually recorded a video calling myself the silver unicorn of Booktube because an ordinary unicorn is too common. I'm the silver unicorn, silver obviously tribute to my wonderfully streaked hair. And which you too can have if you're willing to go to a very, very good hairdresser and spend a lot of money. And so I went to visit a charity bookshop in London, and I voiced it over as me being this strange exotic creature. So if I can, I'll try and insert a little clip here for your viewing enjoyment and pleasure, but I do refer you to that. The silver unicorn is an outcast from the Booktube tribe. They are disgusted by her taste for arts books, cookery books, humour and comedy, and shameless attraction to non-fiction. So she must book hunt alone. Today, the silver unicorn of Booktube approaches the lair of Farah books, drawn by the scent of old pages. Unnoticed, she blocks the exit. Cunningly, she wipes her hoofs on the mat to hide her spoor. She bares her fangs. She sneaks up on her prey and pounces. Extinction, things I no longer do in my channel. I no longer do Latin subtitles. You can find them on a video called the 2022 Library Bookshelf Tour, Shelf 3, which is mostly poetry books, by the way. I no longer do library tours because I've realised my library doesn't change that much. Although one of the big changes for me has been actually de-unhauling books, as it's called, taking books out of the house, because with Booktube I now have this gigantic TBR which is stored on my computer. I can't even just take it with me in a sheet of paper. Books that I want to read, I want to get to, and therefore I have to make space. And so now, instead of clinging on to books and trying to keep them because I love them, I'm able to go, wait a minute, let go, then you can have new ones in. Other things I no longer do in my channel. I started trying writing prompts, didn't work, not many people engaged. I made a video which I thought would be fabulous, where I cooked and talked books, where you ended up with a recipe and the sense of being with me in my kitchen, and me chatting to you about podcasts I'd found and films I'd seen and interesting things. And that didn't really work very well. So, and I don't know why, because I thought it was by far and away the more interesting one I'd done. I also got very few views for taking part in a literary festival, which surprised me, where I took part in the Charleston Festival. And I also find that people don't like experimental film techniques, which is a bit of a shame, because for the Anthony Blunt book review I did an overlay of different images, because the book itself was called Anthony Blunt, His Lives, and the fact that he was a secret agent and he lived this life of being an art critic, and at the same time he was also being the spy for Russia. So I thought it was very appropriate to have images of me slightly overlaid slightly to one side, but nobody commented for starters. And then the other thing I did was for Virginia Woolf, doing a review of a book about her. I started off with some modernisty, dreamy, long fades between shots, which I quite liked, and nobody commented either, so there we go. Lastly, my advice to new booktubers. There's lots of it contained in what I've said earlier. I hope it's of interest to you. And I am about to unburden myself of the Booktube quotient. This is my invention. And it's simply stats, because stats are what matter to you when you start. You feel that nobody in the world is watching, and you put in so much time, so much effort. You spend a fortune on books. You spend hours at your library trying to get fresh books that will be interesting to other people. You sit down, you do the whole rabbiting thing where you speak awkwardly, you feel a complete fool, you give it all that time, you come away, you edit it, for hours to get rid of all your mistakes and your second takes and your third takes. You upload it and it seems like nobody's watching it, and you think, huh? So the actual, I'm trying to find where's my note going to? Yes, the quotient. I worked this out by myself. I divided the audience size by the numbers of videos. And I did this for a variety of different booktubers. And intriguingly, it came out normally as a single digit, around maybe 4, maybe 3, maybe 7. Whatever that number is, say the number is 2, then that means that for every video that person makes, they've only gained 2 viewers. And it's that small, it's that incremental. It's a very rough guide, but it's interesting to see. Therefore, the conclusion is you must continue to make videos. Once people get viewing figures over, I don't know what, maybe 8,000 or so, it snowballs. It becomes much easier for those people to gain viewers without making many more videos. So do take encouragement from that. When you put a whole lot of effort in and you maybe find 22 people watch it, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. All the time you do it, you're getting better, you're finding your niche, and people are starting to find you. As long as you do the Booktube newbie tag, which is how people connect, and then once you've done it yourself, circle back every now and then to see who has done it afresh, and be the person who greets them, who welcomes them, who says welcome, leaves a comment, I liked this about your video, and maybe subscribe if you genuinely like what this person is talking about. So a couple of things that I find really helpful during I'm just fresh to this sort of first 6 months or so, is to notice that there is a group of other booktubers who started around the same time as you. You tend to notice each other, and even a year, 2 years later, you feel favourably towards them and they towards you, and you're looking to see how they do. And that's a lovely feeling, and it's just something you gradually get through time. The thing not to worry about an audience is that you're making a backlog. I think about people I would discover as a booktuber at some point that was interested in a particular area that I liked, or that I just thought, oh, I like you as a presenter, I want to see more of your stuff. And then finding out that they'd maybe done 20, 30, 40 videos, I would be delighted. Fantastic, you've got a backlog, I will be able to see more of you. Whereas if someone is great but they've just started, you can't look back at their past videos. And that is what you're making as you make those early videos that nobody sees now. The other thing is that keeping an eye on your statistics, you will see that little video that only got 22 viewers in another few months will have notched up another 10, 20, whatever. And these are all tiny numbers, but this is where we all start. And it just becomes incremental. And it's so encouraging to look back on a year later, maybe 2 years later, and you'll see a lot of people have now seen that video that at first felt like a complete dud, that had fallen on deaf ears. I would encourage you to start, make what you like. Do the odd tag, of course, then that means you're taking part in conversations and shared questions and discussions. Do comment on the booktubers you find and like. And be aware that their comments are gold. You get far fewer comments on your videos than you will actual numbers who watch it. That's part of the whole thing. But you will then understand why when you give a comment on the booktubers video that it's prized, it's looked at, and hopefully they respond to you. And I would encourage you, after about 6 months, when most of your videos will have some figures, to actually make a note of some figures, because they change so very, very slowly at the start that you will only notice them if you literally sit down one day. I'm going to clear my throat. If you sit down one day and write down how many subscribers you have, and then a few of your slightly more hopeful looking videos for getting eyes on them, and how many people have seen them, and then revisit maybe every 3 months or so when you get that feeling of, oh, I wonder, is this making any difference? Is anybody actually enjoying this as much as me? Go and have a look, and you'll find the figures have slightly notched up. And after a year or so, you can have the fun of saying, looking at all these figures and going, why did people like this one in particular? And trying to work it out. I'm going to try and think of some odd little thoughts to encourage you as well. Let me just quickly refresh. Yes, when I was starting out, I thought at one point, I can't afford to keep getting in fresh books. And actually, one of the higher scoring videos I've done is where I decided I would do a book review of one book, and it was a library book, so it didn't cost me anything, but I find it genuinely interesting, and it was called West with the Night, and it's written by a lady aviatrix from the 1930s or so. And so I went to, there's 2 videos done by Steve Donoghue, who is a professional book reviewer on Booktube, and he did 2 videos on how to review a book in the way that you would do for a column. And I made notes on that, and I then proceeded to do that with this book. Plus I added in some B footage, because B-roll, I keep calling it B footage, B-roll, just because it added into the mix, broke it up, was a different visual viewpoint than just me sitting looking at the camera, and uploaded it, and it has done spectacularly well, above and beyond many other things. And yet it was one book and a lot of time reviewing, thinking about, researching a little bit, but learning a skill. So I really encourage you to do that. I think that's well worth doing. I think doing very large book hauls is where you need a lot of books coming through. It costs a lot of money. And at the end of the day, if you've just got the books, you've actually not got much to say about them. You've maybe got a few sentences for why you were attracted to it. You can show the book, which is nice visually, but you aren't really contributing much to the debate. Whereas if, say, you went to a charity shop and got, or a library, and got 2 or 3 books you genuinely loved, spent a while looking around the subject, the author, how they were written, finding some interesting facts, and then presented each one of them separately as videos, that would be an interesting one to watch, to see how that performed, instead of just bringing in 12 books, thumping them down in front of the camera and saying, da-da, this, da-da, this, da-da, this, da-da. Because you've contributed then to the book, and somebody watching is going to be getting all the benefit of your research and your preparation and your little personal asides and stories and what it reminds you of, whatever you're bringing to that book. Anyway, I have now wittered on for a horrendous 30 minutes, so I'm going to have to edit this and make it a lot shorter. But those are my thoughts. I hope for anybody newbie starting out that this is encouraging to you, and for those of us who've made more than one video that it's something to listen to, and agree or disagree, please do this tag and keep the conversation going. It's fascinating. So bye for now.